Hey, John Sonmez from SimpleProgrammer.com. So I've got a really serious question here today that I'm going to try to give my best answer for. This is something that I actually can relate to that might be a little bit surprising, and hopefully, my hope is that this would benefit a lot of people out there that are listening to this that feel like they're in a similar situation because we've all been there before. At least most of us have. I spend a lot of time in this place. So well, here's the email and then I'll get into it in a second. So it says, "Hey, Mr. Sonmez, advice wrongly viewed wrongly can become the law which condemns rather than the precept which gives joy in life." It's a true statement. And I feel condemned ever more in my time of failure. I have contacted you before about side projects, school, etc. This semester has been one of deep failure. I have gotten physically sick, dropped out of all my classes, and feel completely unmotivated to do my job. Lost interest for my passion for programming, feel inadequate to start any project that interests me, don't think I could see any serious goal to completion, and most of all, I feel so guilty about all of this. I feel guilty for not being a better programmer than I am, guilty for not mastering my God given gift for software and problem solving, guilty for not following the plethora of advice and resources I have in front of me that others don't have, and guilty for not going to that meetup or programming club, guilty for not eating and exercising and the exercise plan and not sticking to it, guilty for creating a budget and not following it. Heck, sometimes I feel guilty for making a lot of money, buying something nice, and thinking about some poor child in some part of the world not having a meal. I feel I can't even enjoy the fruit of my labor, just guilt surrounding everywhere, feeding into laziness. I don't quite know how to handle the amount of failure in front of me, and I spend most of my workday alone and come back to an empty home for the rest of the night, and I think there is an intense loneliness that starts to creep up on me these days. I know this seems quite desperate, but I thought you might provide me with some hope. So, gosh, this is. Well, first, let me just start by saying this, right? I've been thinking about this for a while, and you are not alone, buddy. I feel the same way a lot of time. I know it might seem weird, like how could I feel guilty about not getting stuff done and and slipping up when I'm doing all this stuff and I'm getting all this stuff done. But I can tell you, regardless of where I've been in life, I always feel guilty like I'm not doing enough. I don't know if everybody feels this way, right? I would suspect that at different times everyone does, but I know that this is not necessarily a bad thing. Feeling this way now, feeling this way all the time is going to be destructive to you. But in general, feeling like this means that you have a higher standard for yourself. It means you're not okay with sitting on the couch and watching reruns of Friends while eating bags of potato chips and letting life pass you by. You feel like you have a higher calling, that you are responsible for making the most of your situation and doing something, and that's good. You just have to turn this to the right avenue, right? It's feeling guilty about this isn't going to help you, right? In the long run, and it's not going to help me. And I'm going to say this: I'm giving as much as I'm giving advice to you right now, I'm giving advice to me, right? Because this is something that I definitely struggle with. I mean, when you're saying this, right? When you're saying that, you know, that that you feel like that you've had a deep failure, that you feel unmotivated to do your job, lost your interest, right? Feel inadequate to start any project, that you can't see goals to completion, and you feel guilty about all this. When you say that you feel guilty for not being a better programmer, guilty for not following all this advice, and guilty for not doing all these things and following your exercise plan and all of this stuff and budget, and you know, I totally relate to this. Honestly, like I know it might seem a little bit strange for me to say this, but yeah, I feel the same way. Now, maybe the difference between me and you is that I don't let it stick with me, right? I feel it from time to time, and and I try to deal with it by taking some kind of action, by saying, look, here's the thing, right? I'm not performing at 100%, but I'm gonna do the best that I can right now for today, and I'm gonna leave the rest on the table, right? What's happened yesterday has happened. You can't fix that. You can't change it. And you can't live in the future perfectly as well. You have to be in the present. And at this point in time, right? You know, there's a lot of things to be thankful for. And this is one thing that I would say, that might help you is to just focus on some gratitude of what are the things that are good, that are going right, that you can be thankful for. Your situation could always be worse than it is. And I'm not trying to make a light of your situation, right? I mean, it's easy to feel guilty about all this stuff, but start from the idea of gratitude. What is happening. Again, I'm giving the same advice to myself because I get to the spot that you're at right now. I feel like that often. It happens, right? And this was a crap week for me this week, and I got to that place at least. I didn't get done what I wanted to get done, right? I put all this stuff on my plate. I get done less than half of it. I'm like, wow, I'm a big failure. Oh, I'm a big fraud. Oh, I can't get anything done. I don't even feel motivated to get it done. And it's a self-feeding cycle because you set some expectation for yourself which you don't meet, and then what happens when you don't meet it? Well, then you feel guilty, and when you feel guilty, do you feel motivated? No. So it sets you up for more failure. You've got to be able to break that chain. Now, do I have a foolproof way of breaking that chain? No. The best advice I can give you is to just start doing it, to start going forward and doing what you need to do and start getting some wins under your belt. In fact, as I was thinking about this, like what kind of advice could I give you honestly besides saying, oh, well, don't feel guilty, or something like, oh, it's not that bad, or be thankful, and things like that, is to get some small wins under your belt. I think that will help you. That certainly helps me when I get into this mode. Sometimes what I'll do when I get into this mode is I will knock everything off of my plate and put a small piece there, a small win that I can get, right? So I schedule my week, I schedule my day, right? I have all these things on there. Sometimes it's like I'm behind, right? This is the worst feeling, is when you're behind and you're trying to catch up and you're like trying to make up for yesterday. Sometimes you just got to wipe the slate clean and say, okay, I'm starting over and I'm putting less than I know I can get done so that I can get it done and feel good about myself, right? And get that done, because those small wins, those small victories change your mindset. And the thing is, yes, maybe you're not going to operate at 100%. Yes, maybe your capacity is this, but you're only requiring yourself to do this, and you might feel guilty about it. But the thing is, your capacity is this when your mind is in the right place. When you're where your mind is now, your capacity might only be this. So get this done, right? Just do the small thing, get some small wins, and that's going to help you. I feel bad when I read your email, because I like I said, I know it's hard to believe. I know it's hard to think that I might be in that place, that I might feel guilty and I'm not getting things done. But believe me, no matter how much you get done, no matter how successful you are, right? And I've been super productive. I know it, right? From a logical perspective, when I look back, I'm like, man, you just published a dang book, 504 pages. You released a course. You write all these blog posts and do all this stuff. Don't feel guilty about not getting, I mean, you haven't even missed a deadline. Don't feel guilty about not getting a bunch of extra stuff done. It doesn't matter. In your mind, you're always going to feel this way. So the solution, what I'm saying, I guess, is it's not to get all these things perfect. And you're never going to get them perfect, because no matter what stage you get, let's say that you accomplish right now what you think would make you successful, right? Let's say that you're doing your work, you're doing your side projects, you're going to meetups, you're following all this advice, right? And you're keeping your budget. You're going to have a higher level of expectation for yourself, and you somewhere along the line, right, you're going to fall down. You're always going to feel this way to some degree, unless you can change this and use this, right? And it's okay to some degree, right? Because every day when you wake up, the battle is going to be fought anew. You're never going to totally conquer this, and that's okay. But you're going to get better at fighting the battle, right? Because this is like, this is why life is hard. This is why things don't come easy. This is why success is hard, is because we're fighting a battle with ourselves. Every day we have to get up and we have to decide, that we're going to fight this battle, and every day is a new battle, right? We don't get to go off of yesterday, right? As much as you succeed, as much as you achieve, no matter where you get, there's always going to be a higher bar. There's always going to be a higher standard. There's always going to be something to feel guilty about that you didn't do, you know. And I can tell you, trust me, from personal experience, that I've been at the top of my game in a lot of areas, and I've still felt guilty, and I still do, but I don't let it stop me. Don't let it stop you, and try to divert that energy. You know, again, I'm like I said, I'm giving you advice that I should be giving me, because I do still fall down. I still do have a lost week, because not because I couldn't do the work, but because I wasn't motivated, because I felt guilty, because I got in that cycle, I got in that trap. And the only ways that I ever dig out of that is usually by getting small wins, by wiping the slate clean and getting small wins under my belt. That's what I actually kind of did that today, because you know I had missed. I had a couple of misses, right, in a few days, and this week has kind of been a miss. But I went back and I went to my schedule and I said, look, let's wipe all this off of here. What's the minimum essential things that need to get done, right? I need to get some YouTube videos out. I need to get a blog post out. There's all this other stuff I had planned. I probably took like more than half of it off of my schedule and said, let's get wins. Let's get small wins to get out of this funk and to stop feeling guilty and sorry, for myself. And that's what works. It's still not easy. It's still going to be difficult. And I'll give you one last piece of advice here, because I think you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself, and I don't think it's necessary, right? There's a ton of different things you could do, right? And there's so many people giving advice, right? And this is what, and to some degree, maybe I'm adding to your burden, because you're watching my videos, right? You're reading my blog posts, you're listening to podcasts, perhaps that I'm putting out, and you're thinking, oh, I need to be doing this, oh, I need to be doing that, oh, I need to be doing this. And the reality is, you can't do all those things, right? You can't even listen to all the stuff that I produce in a week, because it takes me a week to produce it. You're going to listen to some of it, but if you did, then you wouldn't be able to do anything yourself. So, I mean, hopefully, not to say don't watch my videos or anything, but what I'm saying is that don't let all that stack up on top of you and feel like you have to do all those things. In fact, what I would say is, besides getting small wins, the other thing that you could do is focus on one small area of your life at a time. Right? This is a recipe for disaster, and this is what a lot of people do, is they try to change their whole life at one time. So what they'll try to do is, perhaps they'll say, okay, this is what's wrong with me. I need to, get this amount of work done. I need to get a side project. I need to start going to meetups. I need to fix my diet. Oh, and I need to start lifting weights, and I need to start running. Oh, and I need to get a budget, get my finances in order, right? And they'll try to fix these 5 things or 7 things all at one time, and you only have a limited amount of willpower, and you're going to just fail. You're going to feel overwhelmed, and you're going to fail at all the things and feel super guilty. Maybe that's the situation that you got into. And so the answer to that is to zoom out and say, look, here's the thing. The way that we change, the way that we become a better version of ourselves, is through habits. And so what I'm going to do is, instead of trying to fix 5 different areas of my life at once, I'm going to pick one thing out, a small thing, right? All I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on waking up an hour earlier and working on a side project. The other stuff, fine. I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm going to get into that habit, okay? And then maybe like 2 months later, then you've got that on autopilot. It's no longer requiring willpower, and then you move to another habit, right? And you form another habit. So maybe you say, now I'm going to fix my diet. Now I'm going to start running, or maybe you can take a little bigger chunk and work on just fitness in general. Or maybe you take you say, I'm going to start going to these user groups or doing this social thing. But just focus on one small slice, one small thing that you're trying to correct or you're trying to improve at one time, until you get it down, until it becomes a habit. There's actually a really good book that's a self-published book by Tynan, I believe his name is. I follow his blog, but it's called The Power of Habit, or it might be, no, it's called Superhuman Habit. Let me check it out here. I think it's Superhuman habit by habit. Superhuman by habit. And I'll put the link in there. But really, really good book, talks about exactly this, about knocking out one thing at a time and turning it into a habit. So I hope this advice helps you. Hope it didn't put more burden on you. Again, you know, I'm gonna watch the video because I'm giving myself advice here, because this is the thing that I have to work on. Because if you can't figure this out, right, it doesn't matter what level of success. When I was much less successful, making a third of what I'm making now, and and doing a lot less, doing a tenth of as less productive as I am now, I felt the same way, and now I still feel the same way. So that doesn't solve the problem. Doing more, being better doesn't solve the problem. The problem is, to some degree, I think it's something that never totally goes away. You just have to learn to fight, learn to deal with. But as far as getting out of these funks when it really hits you hard, I think two things I would say. One, get some small wins. Two, focus on one area at a time. Stop trying to do everything. Stop trying to be everything. Just and be willing to wipe that slate clean. Don't carry over tomorrow's sins over to today, and tomorrow's failures, because that's just it's too much burden. You can't bear it. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to expect it to be perfect, and it takes time. It takes time. It takes time to build habits. It takes time to make progress. Put one brick in the wall every day. I know I'm going on a long rant here, but honestly, focus on putting one brick in the wall every day. Don't look at the wall. Don't look at this huge thing you have to do. Don't look at it from the big scope. Just think, today I must do X. It's a narrowly focused thing. I'm going to put this one brick in the wall, and over a long period of time, I'm going to get to where I need to be. You're not going to turn a switch and overnight suddenly be super productive, suddenly be the best programmer, and have all this motivation, and go to user groups, and get your fitness and finances and all this in track. It's not going to happen in tract. I don't know what word I'm saying, but anyway, it's not going to happen overnight. What's going to happen is it's going to happen over time. So long video, but hopefully this is helpful to you and to someone else in this situation. Like I said, I'm in this situation from time to time myself. So thanks for writing this, for having the courage to write this email, which is really difficult, and it'll get better. You just try and focus, take some of the pressure off of you. Think about what you're grateful for. Make it small. Make it, wipe the slate clean. And I think I've said enough. I think I've repeated myself enough. So thanks again. If you like this video, if you feel like this could help someone, share the video, and I would definitely appreciate that. All right, take care.